Hi, I'm here talking to you about the evaluation question that should be coming up on your screens right now. What are you doing here? I'm here to present the question we talked about. No, we didn't. But you're here now, so I guess we'll just do it together. Sounds good to me. So, do we just look at this and read off it? Pretty much. Okay then. When I first decided to produce an action thriller film trailer, I always aimed to keep to the conventions of real action thriller films, as the genre is rather rooted in keeping to simple conventions to please a specific audience, predominantly males. I feel that this aim has been shown in my film trailer in many ways, and that is what I'm going to be talking about today. The mise-en-scène is mostly significant in this genre of action thriller films, and this is where I believe I developed the forms and conventions of real action thriller films the most. To really engage my target audience, I knew I had to include a weapon of some sort. This resulted in my protagonist having a gun, a pistol to be exact, as this is the most common weapon used in action thriller films. For example, James Bond, Bourne Identity, Abduction and Die Hard. This prop is also more realistic than a more elaborate weapon such as a machine gun or foreign weapon due to the location in which my film is set, Britain, which is not known for massively destructive weapons. The setting of my film trailer develops upon two areas that are usually used in action thrillers. One is a location to do research. I chose a room that looked like a study in a house, as this would be the most realistic place for my protagonist to have access to. The other location is an industrial estate, as from research I found that many people associated a location in an action thriller film as an abandoned building or warehouse, which is why I chose an industrial estate, so that the audience made that potential connection without showing it obviously, as in my trailer I only included the outside location. The costume I chose for my character was inspired by characters like James Bond and Ethan Hunt, as I found them to be the epitome of an action thriller protagonist, and so wanted to use aspects of their costume for my own protagonist. This in particular was a black jumper, black trousers and black shoes, to give the impression that my protagonist was undercover and not supposed to be there. I chose to challenge conventions by not showing my protagonist in any suave costume, like a suit, as for the age of my character it didn't seem like normal attire to be wearing. As I didn't use any specific forms of lighting, I do not believe I developed or challenged that particular convention of an action thriller film. But when editing my film, I colour graded each shot to a yellowy blue to make my film trailer look like those of a blockbuster film like Transformers or Iron Man. This also made it more aesthetically pleasing to the eye, with the colour grading being associated with action thriller films rather than that of a horror, for example. The majority of cuts for my trailer were jump cuts, as this let me include different aspects that I believed would excite an audience, such as the showing of the gun and the more intense stunt scenes. After researching into trailers like Spectre, I had found that shortcuts were used to include a lot of different parts of the plot that seemed exciting or showed some significance to the storyline. So I used shortcuts during the part where I wanted the audience to get the most excited. As more elaborate editing like match cuts and subliminal cuts are not particularly associated with action thrillers, I stuck to simple cuts that got my target audience to the pieces of action that would engage them. In terms of camera work I used, the majority was a combination of medium, long and close-up shots of my protagonist. This introduced the audience to my protagonist by his facial expressions and the situations he gets himself into. I attempted a small money shot via a long shot of my protagonist running towards the camera with a car coming after him, and switching between two angles to increase the excitement for the viewer. And structurally, putting this shot just before the title of my film came up, as I knew money shots from research came at the very end or near to the end, as it was the final aspect of excitement to get the audience to watch the film. The sound for my film trailer consisted of non-diegetic music and a non-diegetic voiceover. My non-diegetic music is parallel to the action happening on screen, just as in any action thriller, as it helps build up the excitement for the viewer. This develops upon the usual music during an action thriller trailer, as the drum beats add anticipation to the action happening on screen, and as my target audience is predominantly male, this therefore works in favour, as this is what my target audience would enjoy the most. Through researching different trailers, I found that often the protagonist would be speaking during a voiceover to hint to the plot to the audience and generally engage them into the story itself. Therefore, I used a voiceover from my protagonist revealing his plans and backstory to my character and the plot, giving the audience information to interpret and get excited about for the film. The one aspect I would say challenged the forms and conventions of a real action thriller film is the fact that I made the decision to make my protagonist young. Unlike protagonists like James Bond, John McClane and Ethan Hunt, who are all adults and experienced in their field of work. This is because I wanted to convey to the audience what my protagonist is driven to do in the end. To do something he isn't particularly experienced in, and that he has to step up despite his age. The decision to do this had also resulted from wanting my film to connect to my target audience on a more personal level, so that it is a more relatable film to them. I think that went really well. You could say that. Look, I'm gonna go get a drink. Do you want one? Okay.